Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you, so let's begin. My name is Willie, and if there's one thing I've learned the hard way, it's that trust should never be blind. People like to say that love conquers all, but that's not true. Love without trust is just a pretty lie we tell ourselves. It feels good until the truth tears it apart. Trust is what makes love last. Once it's broken, love means nothing. Not everyone values trust the same way. Some people take it for granted. Some people treat it like an open invitation to do whatever they want, thinking they'll always be forgiven. Trusting blindly in a relationship is dangerous. I made that mistake, and it cost me everything. I started dating Teresa properly when I was 20, and she was 18. We were high college sweethearts, and everything felt perfect. We prided ourselves on figuring out life together, tackling the future as a team. While other people our age were still trying to find themselves, we thought we had it all figured out. We dated for 3 years, and at 23, I asked her to marry me. She said yes without hesitation. Some people told us we were rushing, that we should enjoy our youth a little longer before settling down. But we ignored them. It felt right. For the first couple of years, things were great. We built a home together, had our routines, and supported each other's dreams. But afterwards, Teresa started showing interest in things she never cared about before: partying, clubbing, going out for girls' nights. I get it, people evolve, their interests change. But when you're married, you don't just wake up one day and start acting like you're single again. You grow together, not apart. Then came the first real disagreement. One night, out of nowhere, Teresa brought up the idea that we should spice things up. At first, I thought she meant in our relationship, trying new things, maybe taking a trip together. But no, she was talking about lifestyle changes. More nights out, more parties, more fun. I told her straight up that I didn't like the idea of a married woman chasing the kind of fun that's meant for people who don't have commitments. It didn't sit right with me. She laughed it off, called me too rigid, like I was some old man who didn't understand how to enjoy life. I remember sitting there, watching her, feeling like I was the only one who realized how dangerous this path could be. I thought she dropped it. I really did. But here's the thing. When someone truly wants something, they don't just let it go. And I should have known she wasn't letting it go. One Friday night, I came home late from work, unlike other days. But when I walked through the door, the house was quiet. I called out my wife's name, but there was no response. My heart started to race a little. It wasn't like her to not be home when I came in. I grabbed my phone and called her. The phone rang a few times before she picked it up. She sounded like she was caught up in something. "Hey, where are you?" I asked, trying to keep it casual. "Oh, I'm just having drinks with some friends," she said, almost too casually. It didn't sound like she was telling me the full story. But I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I just let it go. I said, "All right, well, I'll see you when you get back." A couple of hours went by, and I kept myself busy. But by the time it was well past midnight, I was worried. I tried calling her again, but it went straight to voicemail. I could feel the unease growing. Around 2 a.m., she finally stumbles in. I could smell the alcohol on her. She wasn't even walking straight. It was like she had no idea what time it was or what was going on. I stood there, just staring, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. "Where the hell have you been?" I asked, my voice calm, but I could feel the anger building inside me. She just muttered something about how she was sorry, but she didn't seem to know what she was apologizing for. I helped her to the bedroom, but she was so far gone that she couldn't even stay awake. I was pissed, but I just let it go for the night. She needed sleep, and I wasn't going to get anything out of her while she was drunk. The next morning, I woke up to find her still passed out. I went about my usual routine, had my coffee, checked my emails. When she finally woke up, I knew we needed to talk. I sat her down. "We need to talk about last night," I said, my tone firm. She was still groggy, but she quickly sat up, realizing this wasn't going to be one of those brush-it-under-the-rug moments. "I waited for you to come home," she started, her voice slow, still a little hungover. "But when you took too long, I just decided to go out with some friends." I stared at her. "That explanation makes no damn sense," I said, my voice rising just a little. "You text or call me. You just went off and did whatever. Damn, well that's not how this works. She got defensive, just like I expected. She started to say stuff about how it was no big deal, how it was just a night out with friends. But the more I pushed, the more she dodged the responsibility. I wasn't having it. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, and then I laid it down for her. Listen, Teresa. These kinds of things destroy marriages. The trust gets broken, and when that happens, it's hard to come back from. You can't just act recklessly. She stared at me for a long time, and I could see the guilt in her eyes, but she didn't say much. Then, finally, she nodded as if she understood. I get it, she said quietly. I won't do it again. I promise. But I wasn't sure if she really got it. And to be honest, I didn't feel like she was owning up to it. I wanted to believe her, so I decided not to push her further. We didn't talk about it anymore that day. I didn't know it at the time, but that was just the beginning of everything going downhill. 8 months after we'd had that huge conversation about boundaries, trust, and what we were both comfortable with, I honestly thought things were good. I thought my wife, Teresa, had gotten the message. But one evening, she came to me and told me about a birthday party she was planning to attend. It wasn't just any random party. It was her childhood friend's birthday. The friend had asked Teresa to help out with the party, and as usual, she was all in, eager to pitch in. Now, I knew this childhood friend, and I didn't have any reason to doubt the situation. It wasn't like she was pulling some sketchy excuse. I trusted that the friend was real, and everything seemed harmless enough. But when she told me the party would be held at night, there was a little nagging voice in my head. You see, this wasn't going to be some afternoon gathering. No, it was a night party. I wasn't thrilled about it. I knew we talked about not really doing the whole clubbing, late-night partying thing anymore, especially after what had happened before. But at the same time, I didn't want to seem like the guy who was always controlling what she could and couldn't do. So, I told myself I'd trust her this time. After all, she had assured me she wouldn't pull anything like she did before. Deep down, I wasn't entirely comfortable, but I swallowed it and let her go. As she got ready that evening on the day of the party, Teresa casually mentioned, almost offhandedly, that she was thinking of sleeping over at her friend's place after the party. My gut reaction was almost immediate. I shot that down hard. I didn't even think twice about it. I was like, no way. Absolutely not. But then, she pushed back a little. It's not a big deal, Willie. Everyone's going to be there. It'll be fun. We went back and forth a little. Finally, after what felt like hours of us going around in circles, we came to a sort of compromise. I would pick her up at 11 p.m. Now, let me be clear, I hated that arrangement. Every part of me wanted to tell her to just stay home, but I also didn't want to come off as some paranoid control freak. So I agreed. That night, as the clock ticked closer to 9 p.m., I tried to catch up with some of the books I've not read in a while. After a while, I decided I needed to do something. I figured I'd take a trip to the mall, get some fresh air, walk around, and clear my head before heading to pick her up. But when I got there, the mall was already closed. It was 10 p.m. I still had time before I was supposed to pick her up, but I didn't want to drive all the way home just to turn around and go back out again. So, I told myself I'd just swing by the party. I didn't expect anything crazy. And, well, that's where things went from bad to worse. I pulled up to the party. The music was blaring even from outside. I debated sending my wife a text, telling her I came a bit early, but then I thought, what's the point? I am already here. As soon as I entered the house, the first thing that hit me was the smell, alcohol, and sweat mixed with cheap cologne and perfume. People were milling about everywhere, some on the couches, some standing by the bar in the corner, and there were even more people in the kitchen. After seeing how packed the party was, I needed to know where Teresa was, and I didn't plan on wasting time. I spotted the birthday girl near the front of the room. She looked happy, a bit tipsy, and I figured I'd ask her. We exchanged pleasantries, and I got straight to it. Hey, have you seen Teresa? I'm here to pick her up. She smiled, half distracted, and said, Oh, she was just here. She went toward the living room. I nodded and made my way through the crowd. I asked a girl standing near the living room if she had seen Teresa. She didn't hesitate before saying, Oh, she went to the restroom. All right, that made sense. So, I headed down the hall toward the restroom. But the further I walked through the house, the more it felt like a different world. I passed a couple making out in the hallway, barely aware of the world around them. I saw a door ajar, and from inside, I could hear sounds I didn't need to hear. People were having sex, loudly, just on the other side of the wall. But I kept my head straight, blocking it all out. All I wanted was to find my wife and get the hell out of there. I got to the restroom, and there was no sign of Teresa. I stood there for a second and decided to check the backyard. It was a gamble, but I figured it might be quieter back there, and maybe I'd spot her. I made my way through the back door and into the yard. That's when I saw two figures standing in the dim corner of the yard, tangled together. My mind went blank for a second. I didn't know what I was seeing, but I knew one thing for sure. I never thought, not for a second, it would be her. And then I heard her softly moan. It was unmistakable. I froze. I knew what I was hearing, what I was seeing, and yet my brain couldn't fully process it. I didn't know when I called her name. Teresa. She immediately jumped away from the guy she was with. Her eyes went wide, and her face flushed with the most intense shame I'd ever seen. For a moment, she just stood there, not knowing what to do, not knowing how to fix what she had just been caught doing. I turned around without another word and left. I wasn't going to stick around to hear the excuses, the explanations. She had already made her choice. Teresa didn't come home until hours later. I didn't care who dropped her off, whether it was her friend or the guy she'd been with. It didn't matter anymore. She stepped inside, but the moment she opened her mouth to speak, I stood up, grabbed my phone, and picked up the books I'd been reading earlier. Without a word, I walked straight to the guest room. I wasn't going to sit there and listen to her excuses. The next morning, I left for work earlier than usual. I didn't want to deal with her, and I couldn't stand being in the same house. For the next week, I barely acknowledged her existence. She called. She texted. She blamed everything on the alcohol, said she didn't know what happened, and promised she'd never go to a party again without me. I wasn't buying it. I didn't care for the apologies or the promises. It wasn't just the party. It was everything that led to it. I finally responded to one of her messages, just one, and I kept it simple. I warned you. I told you that kind of fun comes with problems. That week was tough, but I was done. One evening, I called her to talk. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but I knew what I had to say. I looked her straight in the eye, and I told her, let's end this. Her face went pale. She begged me, swore she would change, said she couldn't live without me. But I already knew what my answer was. My mind was made up. The trust was gone, and once you lose that, it's impossible to get it back. I wasn't going to live the rest of my life like that, always wondering, always doubting. I was too young to be stuck in a relationship that left me questioning everything. And deep down, I knew I would never see her the same way again. The sobs, the pleading, it didn't move me. I walked away from her, and I didn't look back. I went to bed that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that had led up to that moment. I thought about how we had gotten here. But in the end, I knew I couldn't fix what was already broken. I reflected on all of it. That night, I made peace with the decision. There was no turning back now. If there's one thing I've learned from everything that happened, it's this. Love isn't enough. Yeah, I know it sounds cliché, but it's the truth. Love can be the foundation, sure, but trust is what keeps everything standing strong. Once that trust is gone, whether through a mistake or betrayal, nothing is ever the same. You can love someone with all your heart, but if you can't trust them anymore, that relationship starts to crumble. You'll always question their every move, their every word. And believe me, once trust breaks, it's nearly impossible to rebuild it to the way it was before. So let me share my major takeaways from this whole experience, just in case it helps anyone out there who's watching. First, if your partner starts craving that single lifestyle again, take it seriously. You know what I mean, going out, partying, staying out late, doing things they didn't care about when you first met. That's a red flag. Maybe at first, it seems innocent, like they just want to have a little fun. But when it becomes a habit, that's when it starts messing with the balance of your relationship. Teresa wanted to act like she was still in her 20s, living carefree, like we were still in high school. And I should have seen it coming. I should have addressed it sooner, because once someone starts pulling away from what you built together, it's a slippery slope. Second, never ignore your gut feeling. I felt something was off when she started going out more. I had a feeling in my gut that she wasn't being entirely honest with me about what she was doing or where she was. I should have trusted that instinct. Your gut doesn't lie, and I ignored mine. Trust yourself when something doesn't feel right. If something feels off, there's probably a reason for it. And now, I'm at a point where I don't know what's next. I have no idea where things will go from here, but I do know that it's important to have these lessons in mind. Relationships are built on trust, communication, and respect. Without those, love doesn't stand a chance. So what do you think? Would you have stayed? Or would you have walked away like I did? What would you have done if you found yourself in my shoes? I want to hear from you. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Share your thoughts and share your experiences, because I know we've all gone through stuff that's made us question what we're doing in our relationships. And if you've learned something from what I shared, drop a like, share this story with someone who might need to hear it, and make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, trust is everything.